If you're looking for a fun MBA program, Harvard Business School may not be for you. But if you're looking for something fulfilling and rewarding, let me tell you how it's been going so far. At this very moment, I'm feeling overwhelmed, kind of frustrated, a bit anxious, but also very excited. The orientation schedule was packed with barely any time to think. And right after orientation, we had the Cape Cod trip, which is an HBS tradition, Labor Day, and then the first weekday party of the year, also known as the Gatsby Party. And we also had 10 cases in a 4-day week. So that was absolutely brutal. In this video, I'll break down those 4 major feelings of getting started at HBS, and I'll end with some tips on how to stay sane to make the most of your money and time here. So let's start with the elephant in the room, feeling overwhelmed. Starting school after working for a few years can be pretty isolating because it feels like everyone has their life together. Their experience is cooler than mine, they know why they're here, they know what they want to pursue, they know more people than me, and they know more business stuff than I do. And also they're better at handling stress. Orientation was like drinking from a fire hose. Of course, we had the famous welcome speech where the dean assures us that HBS does not make any admissions mistakes. And they say this because they know they're talking to a room full of people with imposter syndrome. They also gave us a healthy dose of reality. The reality is that yes, we worked really hard to be here and we deserve to be here, but we also got a little lucky. They could have filled 3 Klarman halls with just as qualified students. And then it was off to the races. Everyone is hyper aware that everyone in the room is hardworking, high achieving, has nearly impossible aspirations that they will most likely achieve, and we are notified that there is a forced curve. So 10% of people will get academic honor roll, which is called the bigger scholars here, and 10% of people would be at the bottom of the curve. I don't think most people are worried about trying to be in the top 10%, but everyone is worried that they aren't doing enough to stay out of the bottom 10%. So starting the week of orientation, everyone is grinding. Class participation and engagement accounts for 50% of the grades in the first year classes, and everyone is trying to get their voice in amongst all the other students who also understand that if you front load your comments in the earlier classes, you're in a better position. We had 2 practice cases during orientation week, multiple discussion sessions that week too, and the realization that we are in a pressure cooker with our section feeling the heat to make friends, be friendly, and figure out what kind of norms we want to formally and informally establish. By the second day of orientation, we realized there is no time to do anything. We were in sessions from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and everyone is anxious to make a good impression and make friends quickly. We'll touch on this again when I talk about feeling anxious, but at this point, we're feeling time pressure to prepare for the 10 cases that we will be discussing the first week of school, while also preparing to go to Cape Cod with a bunch of strangers. If you want to see how my trip went, I made a vlog about the trip, but more importantly, some caveats and takeaways about traveling with strangers. And then when you just feel like you're getting a hold of things, the clubs start. There's upwards of 100 HBS affiliated clubs that we're able to join. And one of the best aspects of the clubs at HBS is that partners are also able to join and participate. This inclusive culture permeates through all aspects of the HBS experience. We can talk about this more later when I talk about what I'm excited for. Anyway, we are all case newbies, and each case takes me like 2 hours to prepare. Worst of all, for my financial reporting and controls class, there's a whole case I need to dissect, and I cannot get my balance sheet to balance. And when I finally get it balanced, I'm sure it's balanced wrong. I spent 5 hours on that thing, and I never felt more dumb, and I was on the verge of tears, but I decided to sleep. And the next morning when I met up with my discussion group, the finance bros and the consultants put me at ease. They did their best to explain everything and admitted that they struggled too. And they also assured me that we were all in this together. And in class, the professor never shamed anyone for getting the answer wrong. They did not call on others when people struggled and helped everyone understand the context and the technical aspects of what was going on. I learned a ton, and I'm convinced that the case method is truly the most effective way to teach accounting. I guess that after doing this for more than 100 years, HBS knows what they're doing. I remember going home after school one day feeling completely defeated, utterly and completely underwater, and extremely overwhelmed. I was tearing up telling my husband that I don't think I'm cut out for this. He gave me a hug, and he was like, "This is only your first real week of school. There's a learning curve, and if you're feeling this way, I'm sure everyone is feeling this way." Give yourself some grace. It's not like you've done this before. And he was right. Everyone is feeling this way, lost and unsure about how to move forward with their career, trying to find their best friends, and trying to crack the cases. About the friends thing, I feel like everyone feels like they're being left behind because of the fear that everyone is building deeper friendships faster than they are. But just statistically speaking, what are the odds you'll find your lifelong friends in a herd of 950 people in the first 2 weeks of school when more than half the time your face is buried in case packets? The answer is 0. Now let's talk about frustration. Everyone is frustrated. I feel like I have to raise my hand 30 times to be called one time in class, and I feel like I look like a circus monkey doing so. It's really frustrating to have prepared and possibly over-prepared to have a few good comments to say in class, and not only does the professor not see me to call on me, my section mates are killing it with their comments. They can phrase things and articulate things that I cannot even explain. However, I know I'm my worst critic, and I'm only focused on what I'm doing. For a minute, I stopped listening in class, and I stopped raising my hand, and I just looked around at my classmates. They had the same feelings embedded in their eyebrows. They had the same thoughts as they rushed to put their hand up, only to drop it, to play with their hair or adjust their glasses when someone else got picked. I realized that my frustration was not unique to me. Everyone complained about feeling unseen. The ones on the sides of the classroom felt like they were sitting in the blind spots and the professor's back was always turned towards them, and the ones in the middle felt ignored because the professors would make eye contact and then pick someone else because the middle was just too obvious or convenient to pick from. But the professors do collect the data of their call patterns, and even though they may not be perfect in their calling distribution in a single class, they will adjust in the subsequent classes to make sure they are calling evenly across a handful of classes. Again, I reminded myself that the professors do not know us, who talked often, who talks less, so they don't have a track record or a precedent of the class of 5. So statistically speaking, as classes continue, the professors will develop a better sense, a database if you will, of who's spoken and who still needs to speak. Already, I see them prioritizing getting everyone's voices in. HBS is its whole ecosystem with so many more resources that any of us can take advantage of and keep track of. It's really frustrating to try and absorb all the information and keep track of everything that needs to be done. But here's the thing, I figure that there's 94 more people in my section and they're all like me, capable and feeling the same way. So if we go collect at least 2% of information each or plan a social event or help with accounting, we can work together to get 100% of all of our bases covered, academically, socially, and professionally. And I think that's what HBS is trying to build. The section experience is a crucible and is working to fuse all these relationships together. And now let's talk about anxiety. So during orientation, the deans showed us a version of this graph, time versus anxiety for the first year. And for my short 2 weeks here, it's tracking. So about academics, we start by hitting the ground running. It takes a while to adjust the difficulty, but also the classroom style, and depending on the day or whether or not we participated, we can feel a certain way. Some days are a light 2 cases, the other days are a heavy 3 cases, but usually by the end of the first semester, people are feeling pretty good about classes. And then when it comes to social and relationships, so everyone is eager to meet everyone else. After all, that's what business school is for, right? There are clubs, there are section events, everyone is on the hunt for their best friends. So in the beginning, it's very, very stressful. But by the beginning of second semester, things start stabilizing once the friend groups have been established and people kind of know what they want to and not want to do. And then as far as career professionally, we start off exploring and having fun, bouncing our ideas off each other, attending clubs. However, on October 2nd, the recruiting hold is off. HBS blocks recruiters from reaching out to students or coming on campus until October 2nd. That way, we can acclimate to all the academics and social pressures. So starting from October 2nd, it spikes and remains high until an internship or other summer plans are secured, and most people have this sorted out by March. So if it gives you anxiety to look at this graph, welcome to the club. So in true INTJ fashion, I've saved the best for last. These are all the things I'm excited for. Well, we've already kind of talked about them, like making friends and learning in class and growing in my career, but isn't it curious that the things I'm most excited for are also the things that are causing me anguish? I think the reason why we all feel this way is because although we are excited, we don't want to mess things up. And the fear of messing things up gives us anxiety. Anyway, there are other things I'm excited and truly thankful for. The HBS partner experience is amazing. My husband can sit in on classes, join any clubs, participate, and attend any of the amazing events to listen to world-class speakers. The clubs and communities are so welcoming, and the line between student and partner is truly blurred at HBS. I'm excited for his HBS experience. He gets all the best parts without any of the stressful parts. And on top of that, he's an extrovert, so he's making friends at a much higher rate than I can get around talking to people. Oh yeah, and partners can also access HBS's career and professional development services as well, including coaching sessions, resume reviews, and a LinkedIn profile refresh. I'm so thankful and blown away by the attitude HBS takes towards caring for their students holistically by making sure their families and partners are also taken care of. I don't have kids, but I know students with kids or planning to have kids also get additional resources so they can thrive and be their best selves. Now, let's move on to tips to keep your sanity among all these crazies. So first, let's talk about the parties. I think in the first 2 weeks, there were 5 to 6 parties. And yes, the parties happen on weekdays. As someone who chooses not to drink, paying $50 to $100 to be in a loud, dark room of drunk people doesn't really fit my introvert definition of fun and rejuvenating. So I decided I'd only go to the pregame. It has all the perks of 1, being free, 2, removing the pressure of drinking, 3, is not as loud, and 4, I can talk to people and really build relationships before they get drunk. Because the chances are that once they're at the party, they won't even notice I'm not there. And that's the thing about spending your money for social events at business school. Just spend your dollars on the things you want, and you'll notice that people who are there as well are more likely to be your speed. Don't feel FOMO about attending events that you would not gain the most value of. So here's the first tip. Go to the pregame regardless of if you're going to the party because it's free, it's low pressure, and it's very light on the wallet. Tip number 2, it's okay to say no. The worst thing to me would be to commit to a lot of things and then not do any of those things well. For example, I've committed to having lunch with my husband every day. Lunch at HBS is a structured 90-minute break. If I wait to see him until classes are over, things just organically happen, like hangouts and clubs and recruiting events, and I literally won't see him the whole day since HBS starts out our day at 8 a.m. It's painful to turn down the Professor Brown bag lunches and the section retreat planning meetings, but to me, it would be more painful to reduce the investment in my marriage, especially since I can't guarantee anything in my volatile schedule except for that 90-minute lunch break. And the third tip is about reverse engineering my experience to maximize your chances for admission if you're planning to apply for HBS. The heart of the HBS MBA experience is the first year, which we call RC year. RC stands for Required Curriculum. We take 6 classes each semester with the same 95 people. And as you can imagine, the section culture is extremely important because you're spending every day together. HBS is very careful not to admit anyone who might break that culture. So I'm thinking about my section. Everyone is kind, humble, open and willing to learn, able to articulate and defend their own position, but not so stubborn to not change their minds. While there are always going to be the cup half empty people, no one is complaining about others or putting others down. So of course, everyone has their own perspective and take on life, but one thing's for sure, everyone's focused on the impact they can make on the community and in the world. So if I were thinking about applying to HBS, I would highlight those things. Humble yet high-performing, interesting and impact-focused, eager to build lasting relationships not only because of what the HBS Alumni Network can give you, but because of everything you can give back to others. So let's wrap this up since this video is getting pretty long. If there's any topic I mentioned that you'd like to know more about, please drop your questions and comments in the comments section below. Overall, I'm feeling so blessed and so overwhelmed by everyone and everything at HBS. It's a challenge that I'm excited and anxious about, but based on the graph, I know it'll only get better with time. Please consider liking and subscribing to let me know that these insights are helpful, and until next time, bye guys!